If your curiosity looks like bravery, you're Clara. Clara was always the adventurous type, the kind of person who would rather explore the unknown than stay within the confines of safety. Her friends admired her courage, but they also worried about her relentless curiosity. She had a knack for finding herself in situations that others would avoid, but to Clara the thrill of discovery was worth any risk. And this forest has been waiting for you. The forest, with its dense canopy and mysterious aura, seemed to call out to her. It was as if the trees themselves whispered her name, beckoning her to uncover their secrets. Clara had heard stories about these woods, tales of strange occurrences and eerie sounds that defied explanation, but she was undeterred. She felt a strange connection to the place, a pull that she couldn't resist. On a cold November evening, Clara ventured into the woods. The air was crisp and the sky was painted with hues of orange and purple as the sun set. Clara wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck and took a deep breath, savoring the scent of pine and earth. She had been planning this excursion for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to explore the forest's depths. With each step, the world around her grew quieter, the sounds of civilization fading away. The trees stood like ancient sentinels. Their gnarled branches reached out like skeletal arms, casting long shadows on the forest floor. Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as she walked among them. These trees had stood for centuries, witnessing countless events and holding untold stories within their bark. She wondered what secrets they might reveal to her. Her grandmother warned of voices. Clara's grandmother had always been a source of wisdom and caution. She had grown up hearing her grandmother's tales of the forest, stories passed down through generations. "The woods are alive," her grandmother would say, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and reverence. "They speak to those who listen, but not all voices are friendly." Clara had always dismissed these warnings as mere superstition, the product of an overactive imagination. But they're not your own. Clara laughed it off. She shouldn't have. She'd always been skeptical of the supernatural, preferring to rely on logic and reason. But as she ventured deeper into the forest, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to dance around her, playing tricks on her mind. She tried to push the unease aside, reminding herself that there was nothing to fear. Deeper in, the world grew silent. The usual sounds of the forest, rustling leaves, chirping birds, and distant animal calls, faded away, leaving an eerie stillness. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Clara's footsteps seemed unnaturally loud in the quiet, each crunch of leaves underfoot echoing in the silence. She felt a shiver run down her spine, but she pressed on, determined to uncover the forest's secrets. She found a clearing, a gnarled tree with scarred bark. The tree stood alone in the center of the clearing, its twisted branches reaching out like a guardian of the forest. Clara approached it, cautiously, her curiosity piqued. The scars on the bark told a story of their own, a history of battles fought and survived. She reached out to touch the rough surface, feeling a strange energy emanating from the tree. Then she heard it, her own voice, distorted. "Who's there?" she called. The sound sent a chill down her spine. It was as if the forest itself was mocking her, repeating her words in a twisted, eerie echo. Clara's heart raced as she looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. But there was no one there, only the trees and the shadows. "Who's there?" it mocked. "Stay," whispered another voice. Her legs froze. Darkness swallowed her flashlight. The voices seemed to come from all around her, surrounding her in a cacophony of sound. Clara's mind raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. She felt a cold hand grip her heart, and her flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. She was alone, surrounded by the whispers of the forest. Whispers grew, a chorus of anguish. The voices grew louder, their tones filled with pain and sorrow. Clara felt a wave of fear wash over her as she realized that these were not just echoes, they were the voices of the lost, the souls trapped within the forest. She could hear their anguish, their desperate cries for help. It was as if the forest itself was alive, feeding on the fear and despair of those who entered its depths. "Why did you come here?" asked a childlike voice. The innocence of the voice contrasted sharply with the darkness around her, making it all the more unsettling. Clara's heart ached as she heard the child's question, filled with a sense of longing and confusion. She wanted to answer, to explain her curiosity and her desire to explore, but the words caught in her throat. She felt a tear slip down her cheek as she realized the gravity of her situation. Clara screamed, ran, but always returned to the scarred tree. No matter how far she ran, the forest seemed to twist and turn, leading her back to the clearing. It was as if the tree was a magnet, drawing her back to its gnarled roots. Clara's breath came in ragged gasps as she tried to escape, but the forest wouldn't let her go. She felt a sense of hopelessness wash over her as she realized that she was trapped. Faces in the bark contorted, screaming. The tree's bark seemed to come alive, the faces of the lost souls emerging from its surface. Their expressions were twisted in agony, their mouths open in silent screams. Clara felt a wave of nausea as she looked at them, recognizing some of the faces from the stories her grandmother had told. These were the souls of those who had ventured into the forest and never returned. One of them was hers. Clara's heart stopped as she saw her own face among the others, her eyes wide with terror. She felt a scream rise in her throat, but no sound came out. It was as if the forest had stolen her voice, trapping her soul within the tree. She felt a sense of despair wash over her as she realized that she was now one of the lost, her fate sealed by her own curiosity. Laughter, then the ground sank. Her own face, eyes wide with terror. The ground beneath her feet seemed to give way, and she felt herself sinking into the earth. The laughter of the forest echoed in her ears, a cruel mockery of her plight. Clara's mind raced as she tried to find a way out, but it was too late. The forest had claimed her, and there was no escape. Her own face, eyes wide with terror. The next morning, only her flashlight remained. The forest was silent once more, the whispers and voices gone. The clearing was empty, save for the flashlight lying on the ground. It was as if Clara had never been there, her presence erased by the forest. But the tree still stood, its bark scarred with the faces of the lost. Her grandmother whispered her name, and an echo answered, but it wasn't Clara's voice anymore. The echo that answered was twisted and distorted, a haunting reminder of what had happened. Clara's grandmother felt a chill run down her spine as she heard it, her heart breaking for her lost granddaughter. She knew that the forest had claimed another soul, and there was nothing she could do to bring Clara back. The forest had taken Clara just as it had taken so many before her, and it would continue to take those who dared to venture into its depths, feeding on their fear and despair. The echoes of the lost would forever haunt the woods, a chilling reminder of the forest's power. Clara's story would become another tale, passed down through generations, a warning to those who might be tempted to explore the unknown. But it wasn't Clara's voice anymore. The forest had claimed her, and her voice was now part of the haunting chorus that echoed through the trees. The woods would continue to whisper, calling out to the curious and the brave, luring them into its depths. And those who answered the call would find themselves lost, their voices joining the echoes that haunted the forest. Clara's story was a reminder that some mysteries are better left unexplored and some places are best left undisturbed.